there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the end of year book tag. This is a tag that is very popular on BookTube and I've done it in the past. It's super short, super sweet. But before we go ahead and get on into the prompts, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon. Question number 1 asks, are there any books that you started this year that you still need to finish? And for me, no. And I actually only DNF'd 2 books this year. However, there was one book that I really did want to finish and I decided to DNF it. That book is The Queens of Innisleer by Tessa Gratton. I got about 150 pages into this, or it was halfway. I was at the halfway point. I was alternating between physically reading and audiobook listening, and then my audiobook expired, so I waited, renewed it, started listening again, and I was like, I am just not enjoying this book. There were several months between when I put this book down and picked it up again, and as soon as I started listening to the audiobook, I was like, holy hell, nothing is happening. This plot is not progressing. The author is just repeating the same things over and over and over again. And I just lost any and all motivation and interest to continue with this book. This is a King Lear retelling with fantastical elements. Unfortunately, it was just way too slow for me. Prompt 2 is, do you have an autumnal read to transition you into the end of the year? And by the time this video posts, it'll probably be winter time, so no, not really. I had considered reading The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden just because I've heard that this book is super atmospheric and perfect to read during the winter time. I just decided not to pick it up or start the series because I'm in the middle of so many fantasy series as is, and I'd really like to finish and wrap some of those up before delving into a brand new one. Prompt 3, is there a new release that you're still waiting for by the end of the year? And there is not. The last book that I was super excited to get is The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson, which came out in November, and Andre, my friend, gifted this to me. I've already read it. I will be doing a full review for this, and it may or may not be up before this video posts, I'm not sure, but this was the last book that I was super hyped about, super anticipating, and the series went off with a bang. Prompt 4 is, what are 3 books that you want to finish by the end of the year? The first one I'm going to go with is The Fall of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. This is the 4th and final book in the Books of Babel series. I think that's what it's called. And I really wanted to finish at least one of my open fantasy series by the end of the year, so I decided to go with this one just because I've been reading the books fairly close together and I remember everything that happened. But this guy is a chunker. It's like 600 and something pages. The type is super small, so it's going to take me a good while to get through. I'm physically reading the whole thing. My library didn't have the audiobook, unfortunately, and the audiobook narrator is awesome, by the way, if you want to pick up this book on audio. But I'm really excited to finally have the conclusion to this book. We are just learning way more about the Tower of Babel, the different components of it, and each of the characters that has been introduced in the series is kind of taking on a different part of the tower, and I'm sure that they're all going to come together at the end. So I'm super loving this series. It's definitely one of the most unique series I've ever read, a combination of sci-fi, fantasy, and steampunk, and just can't wait to finish it. The next book is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I think that's what it's called. But this is a YA fantasy, a spinoff of her Caraval trilogy. And I read the first book and really enjoyed it. I love Stephanie Garber's world, her whimsy, her writing. And these books are super fun, super quick to get through, super fast plot. And I do have this currently checked out from my library via audio. I don't know if I'm going to get to it because I'm in the middle of Queen and Air in Darkness, and that is a 30-hour audiobook, so we'll see if I can get to this by the time I need to return it. But this is a series that I am excited to continue, and I would love to get to the second book before the end of the year. And then the last book is The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. I have attempted to read this book. I got about 30% of the way through the first time, and for one reason or another just never finished it. So I really want to dig back into this book, and I'm on page, I think, 56 right now. And what I'm really liking about it is that the author, the investigative journalist Lee Strobel, he includes a lot of references in his book. There's a huge bibliography in the back, and a lot of the scholars and historians and theologians that he interviews have written other works that he references. So now, like, my TBR is growing. So all of the books that he references and his investigation into the historical accuracy of the Gospels and Christ, I want to go read those books because they sound really interesting. But like I said, I've started this book before and I want to just knock it out and finish it. I find it really compelling. I'm learning a lot about history, just a whole bunch of stuff. And then the story of Lee Strobel himself, like his personal growth, is really interesting too. So this one I will definitely be able to finish by year end. Question number 5 is there still a book that could become your favorite by the end of the year? And I'm gonna say no. I have read a lot of great books this year. I finished up the Farseer trilogy. I read The Lost Metal by Sanderson. I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and all of those were just excellent reads and some of my favorites of 2022. So I don't see, unfortunately, any of the books that I'm currently reading or want to finish as becoming a new favorite. And the last question is, have you already started making your reading plans for 2023? Yes and no. I have made them in my head, just start thinking about some things that I want to read, but I haven't written any goals down specifically. So my Goodreads goal has been 50 for the last couple years, and I think that's an achievable goal. So I want to go with 50. And then there's a couple other series that I want to continue. And then there's a couple other series that I'm interested in starting, but I'm probably going to discuss with you guys to help me decide what new series I want to start. I'm thinking about starting Brian McKellen's spin-off Powder Mage trilogy. I can't remember the series name. What is it? It is Gods of Blood and Powder. I have the first 2 books in that series, or the Red Queen War trilogy by Mark Lawrence, since I absolutely loved The Broken Empire. So those are like some tentative reading plans for 2023, but nothing is set in stone, and I will at some point go through and actually write my reading goals down. Okay, you guys, that is it for my end of year book tag. Let me know in the comments some of your answers to these questions, or maybe what your 2023 reading goals are, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye.